Hey guys, welcome to video number 3 of my Learn How to Crochet series. If you have not seen 1 and 2, I will put a link to video number 1 right there. And then you can start from the beginning and you can learn to get up to video number 3. Alright, so this video we're going to learn the half double crochet stitch. So, like everything, we start with a slip knot. And we're going to chain 10, and again we're going to make those chains loose so it's easier to work into them when we come back in the other direction. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Alright, so in single crochet in the previous video, there was that additional chain that brought us up to the height, and that did not count as a stitch. Well, in every stitch above the single crochet, those additional chains are going to count as a stitch. So let's say your project is 5 chains wide. In single crochet you would do that the additional chain that would bring you up to the height, and that would not count as a stitch. But in half double crochet and everything above that, your additional chains count as a stitch. So you would do 2 more chains, so now you have 7 chains. And these 2 chains are going to count as a half double crochet on top of this chain. So after you make those 2 additional chains, which brought you up to the height you needed to be and counted as your first half double crochet, your actual real first half double crochet would be in your 1, 2, 3, 4th chain from the hook, which would actually be the second chain of your project. And this would be your first real half double crochet. So let me show you what I mean. So we have 10 chains. Again, we're going to turn it over. We want to see those back bumps. We're going to make those additional 2 chains, which bring us up to the height. Okay, so the first 2 chains, 1 and 2, count as a half double crochet on top of this chain. So our first half double crochet is going to go into our 1, 2, 3, 4th chain from the hook, because these 3 chains are going to count as our first stitch, and these 2 chains are the half double crochet in the first one. So we're going to skip those because this counts as your first stitch. Unlike single crochet, this would not count as your first stitch. In half double crochet it does. And what makes a half double crochet stitch different than a single crochet is normally you would just go right into your chain. Well, we're going to put a loop over the hook. So we're going to have 2 loops on our hook before we go into the chain. So remember, the first 2 chains, that's going to count as our first half double crochet in this chain. So we're going into the 4th chain from the hook. Whoops. I didn't get all the strands. There we go. And you're going to yarn over and pull a loop through that chain. So now you have 3 loops on your hook, and to complete your half double crochet, you're going to yarn over and you're going to pull through all 3 of those loops. That may be tricky, especially if you're new. Trying to get a loop through 3 other loops, it's a little tricky, but if you take your time, you'll get used to it and you'll just be pulling through those loops like it's nothing. Remember, turning the needle down also helps you get through them. I'm going to do this part one more time. Okay, so remember, these two chains, they're going to count as our first half double crochet, even though it's not technically a half double crochet, and that's a half double crochet into the 10th chain on our hook. So now we have to go into the 9th chain on our hook and do a half double crochet in there. So the first two is your half double crochet into that chain, and we're going to put our second half double crochet, although technically our first half double crochet, into our 4th chain from the hook. Remember, when you're counting, the loop on your hook never counts as a chain. And here's how we do a half double crochet. Before we go into the chain, we're going to yarn over and start with 2 loops on the hook, and then we're going to go into that chain, yarn over, pull a loop through the chain, giving you 3 loops on your hook, and you're going to yarn over and pull through all 3 of those to complete your first half double crochet, although technically you have 2 half double crochets in this row. I'm going to go across this whole row with you. Now, if you started to develop muscle memory in video number 2 when we were doing single crochet, slow down, because you're going to forget to yarn over. You're just going to start going right into the stitch. Just slow down and go nice and slow until you start to develop the muscle memory for this type of stitch. So before we go into our next chain, we're going to yarn over. We start with 2 loops on the hook, stretch it out. I can see, okay, I already worked this one, so this is my next chain right here. So I already have my 2 loops on the hook. Go into the back bump, yarn over and pull a loop through that chain. 1, 2, 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through all 3 of those to complete your half double crochet. So we only technically did 2 half double crochets, but we have 3 half double crochets in this row because that chain 2 that we did to build us up to the height, that counts as a half double crochet, unlike single crochet. So let's just keep going across. Pull a loop through the chain, leaving 3 loops on the hook, yarn over, pull through all 3. Before you go into the next chain, yarn over, go through the chain, pull a loop through the chain, 3 loops on the hook, yarn over, pull through all 3. So we're only on row 1, and this is thicker and a bigger project than what 1 row of single crochet is. That's why people like half double crochet and double crochet, because your project grows faster with every stitch, because every stitch is a taller stitch. Where the single crochet, the height was just 1 chain, the half double crochet is the height of 2 chains, so your project grows faster and you can complete a scarf, a blanket, faster than you could if you were doing single crochet. Alright, so let's continue across. Go into our next chain. Don't forget to yarn over before you go through the chain. Yarn over, then you go into your chain, yarn over and pull a loop through the chain. You have 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through all 3. You should be a little bit more comfortable by now pulling 1 loop through 3 loops. Yarn over, go into the chain, pull a loop through the chain, yarn over, pull through all 3. Yarn over, go through the chain, pull a loop through the chain, 3 loops on the hook, yarn over, pull through all 3. Now we're at the end. Here's our tail, there's our slip knot, and we have one more chain to work. So yarn over, my chain was a little tight, so you may have to force your way through. Pull up a loop, 3 loops on the hook, yarn over, pull through all 3. So now we want to make sure that we still have 10 stitches. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and in this case that chain on the side is going to count as 10, where with single crochet it did not. Alright, so we finished here. We're going to turn our work. This is where it gets a little tricky. Is my working? There we go. I'm going to chain 2. Alright, so with single crochet, we would go directly into this stitch right here, and this would not count as a stitch. This counts as a half double crochet on top of this stitch right here. So we're going to skip this one. We're not going to do a half double crochet into this because technically this is our half double crochet in this stitch. So we're going to go to the next stitch, which is right here. Follow it over, pinch it with your left finger so you don't lose it. Yarn over, go into that stitch. Again, make sure you get under both strands. Pull a loop through the stitch, 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through all 3. So in this row, we only did 1 half double crochet, but technically we have 2. Even though this isn't a real half double crochet, it's going to count as 1. And we're just going to keep working our way across. If you developed muscle memory again from single crochet, slow down. Don't forget to do a yarn over before you go into your next stitch. Again, if you pull up on this, you can see that we already worked this stitch, so this is the one we want to go into. Grab both strands, pull up a loop through the stitch, 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through all 3. You're going to keep doing that, and I'll meet back up with you at the end to show you how we finish this off, because this is also going to be a little bit tricky and different than the single crochet. Okay, so I'm at the end of the row. Now with single crochet, it would look like I only have 1 more stitch, and this would not count as a stitch, but this counts as a stitch, so we actually have 2 more stitches to go. So this is the obvious one right here. Now if you put it down, you can kind of see this is the top of my last stitch, and it kind of makes like a little staircase. Well, to prevent that staircase, and we want a nice straight flat edge, we have to actually do a half double crochet, which is going to be our 10th one, into the chain 2 that we made in the previous row. And you're going to want to go into the top chain when you do that. So I'm going to do this slow with you. Come into focus. Alright. Yarn over. This was chain number 1. We're going to do this here into chain number 2. Pull a loop through that chain. We have 3 loops on our hook. Yarn over. Pull through all 3. And you can kind of see you have a straight edge going up. So to start the next row, turn your project over, We're going to make 2 chains to bring us up to the height of the next row. And again, remember, this chain 2 counts as a half double crochet in the first stitch. So you're going to skip it, and your first real half double crochet is going to be in this stitch. So pinch that with your left fingers. Don't forget to yarn over before you go through the stitch. Get under both strands, pull a loop through the stitch. Now you have 3 loops on your hook. Yarn over, pull through all 3. So this row has 2 half double crochets, but only 1 real half double crochet. And you're going to continue down the row. I'll do a couple more with you, and I'll turn 1 more corner with you. Yarn over, go into the stitch, yarn over, pull a loop through the stitch, 3 loops on the hook, make another one, and go through all 3. Here's our next stitch, yarn over, go into the stitch, yarn over, pull a loop through the stitch, yarn over, pull through all 3. And we'll meet back up with you at the end of this row, and I'll show you how to turn the corner 1 more time and go back in the other direction. Alright, so I'm at the end of the row. I have 1 more stitch, and that is going to be into the chain 2 from the previous row. There's the first chain, there's the second chain. That's where I'm going to put my last, or my 10th half double crochet in this row. Yarn over, go into that chain, pull a loop through that chain, although technically it's the top of the half double crochet, even though it's not a real half double crochet. Yarn over, pull through all 3. And that is how you half double crochet. The next video we're going to learn how to do a double crochet. I'm going to put a link right there for that video. But I want you to keep doing this until you become more comfortable with this. Get the muscle memory down for this type of stitch, and then keep going. Do about, I don't know, 10 or 15 rows.